On April the 12th, 2016, I was in Montgomery, Alabama at the Regions Bank at the Eastdale Mall branch location. I had just completed a transaction at the ATM. A lady pulled up behind me, and there was a white guy, still sitting in the parking lot in his truck that she did not see. When I completed my transaction and turned around to go back to my car, she came behind me. He then came behind her and told her that he was there first. She, by this time, had already begun to put her card into the ATM machine, and he just flew off the handle. He first insulted her by calling her the N-word, calling her a SOB. Then he referred to her mom as a whore. He almost knocked me over trying to get to the ATM machine, or her one, I'm not quite sure. By the time I made it back to my car, he had already insulted her several times. So my first instinct was to pick up my phone, because he came at her hostile, all in her face, standing behind her, which I'm quite sure made her uncomfortable, because it made me uncomfortable watching it. So the first thing that I did was press record. Of course, the video, which has now gone viral, you see where he called her the same things, and she remained classy. She did way better than I could have, but in the moment of recording and witnessing, I can remember, first of all, getting angry, wanting to come to her defense and say something to him, to take up for her. But I knew that if I did, and if he would have come at me with the same tone, same words that he did with her, then my reaction would have been totally different. So I didn't want to agitate or incite anything, so I stood back quietly and watched. I can remember stories of my mom telling me when she grew up where I'm from in rural Alabama about the people that they worked for sharecropping. She told me about when they would come through, white people would come through their neighborhoods at night, terrorize them, beat them, and then come the next morning to pick them up for work, and they couldn't say anything. So all of this stuff was going through my mind, and I was thinking, I know he sees me back here, because he almost knocked me over before he got up on her. So he knows that I'm here. So not only is he offending her directly, he's offending me. And I feel like he's offending every black woman in the state of Alabama, in America, every black woman in this world, because we all share the same genetic traits. So once she drove off, or before she drove off, she and I were making nonverbal cues with each other. She was requesting that I dial 911. My passenger had put the number in her phone, but she didn't completely dial. But she was laughing as she drove off, and I was laughing with her. It was literally one of those moments where you literally had to laugh to keep from crying. But before we left, he mumbled under his breath and called my passenger and I the N-word. And we weren't so nice with him like she was. We said some things to him, got back with him the same way that he got with us. We rode around his truck to see if he had a tag. He didn't have any tag on the truck. So my friend that was with me told him that he was ignorant, he was pitiful. This is 2016. Our generation doesn't think like that. We don't see color. But in the same instance, we are aware of who we are and where we come from. As we proceeded to drive off, he was still using derogatory words, racial slurs with us. And the bottom line was, we decided to leave, because we knew that if we had stayed, we probably would have been the ones going to jail. So we drove off, and I remember driving off crying, trembling, disoriented. I spent 8 years of my life in Montgomery, Alabama, from the time that I started at Alabama State University and graduated and began working here. So this particular city basically grew me up, made me into an adult. And I had high hopes, high standards, high expectations for Montgomery. And on that day, I was let down. So she said to me, don't cry, don't shed a tear, because of his ignorance. And that's what kind of made me come back. So, when I told him that we were going to post the video on Facebook, his words to us was, I don't give a F, I don't care, F you. So from the parking lot in Eastdale Mall at Sears, I posted the video. At first, it was only initially for the friends on my list, and then I had quite a few direct messages and people commenting under the video requesting that I make it public. Once I made it public, it just went all across the nation, of course, as we see from the how many views it received. And I received some negative feedback directly in my inbox, but for the most part, the comments, the direct messages were positive. So with that, if I had anything to say to this lady at the ATM, as I've stated before, I have tons of respect for you. You're dignified, you're beautiful for one, and I hope that I did not embarrass you in any way, because that was not my intention. However, I wanted the world to know what happened to you, what happened to us on that day, because I remember asking him in his rage and with him calling us racial slurs, I asked him, how many black people do you employ? How many black people do you supervise? You can't do either if you have this much disgust towards a black person. So he disrespected her as a woman, and he disrespected her as a black woman. But I would just like her to know that I support you 100%. You have constantly been in my prayers, and I hope that, this experience makes you better, makes us all better, and lets you know that, we all stand together with you.